the big story is Tua Tagovailoa and what took place on Thursday night. And I am curious how fans, and so I'd love to jump in on the comments. How concerned are you for players that get hurt? And so we talked a little bit about this last Monday when Tua went back in the game. And so we were concerned for him last week when we got against the Bills. He got up wobbly. Oh no, he's fine. Go back in there, back injury, and then he plays, and the Dolphins win. Well, then he goes quickly with the turnaround on Thursdays, and I do think part of the discussion has to be: wait, are Thursday games really sustainable? No, I know the money is there, and
from a sports fan perspective,
we love more games.
Give me more games.
But man, for these guys that have to suit up a few days later, especially after an injury, it's really, really tough.
And to have a longer season paired with that, long-term, longer season or Thursday games, yikes.
Really tough, really tough. So I want to talk about this for our Unpack This topic today. And each week we take a sports story related to the Bible, related to our own lives. And so what took place for, I guess, my takeaway from the situation on Thursday night, where everyone, reacted and criticized, hey, why was Tua, rushed back in after last Sunday? Why was he even playing? And, it was a scene on Thursday that was hard to watch, where his hands went in the funny way, and it was clear that something was not right. And of course, he had to get, rushed to the hospital, and now he's in the concussion protocol. And so it was all very difficult. But what I realized, and I brought this up last week too, with Justin Herbert playing through injuries, there's this, understanding that football players are always banged up and they have to play through injuries. And it's very much the case. It's the reality. However, a lot of these players that are questionable, it comes down to the wire, they have no business playing. They need the necessary time to heal and to fully heal. And not just, all right, I'm going to push through it, because not what always happens, but oftentimes when your ankle is banged up, now all of a sudden you've hurt your knee, or your knee's hurt, you hurt your hamstring, everything's connected in some way. And so you start favoring one side, and now all of a sudden you got issues, and they compile.
Kevin Durant, calf strain, directly led to his torn Achilles.
That's it. And we celebrate players for playing through injuries. And I do think with the head injuries, it's just something we can't mess around with. And even the tone, I was listening to Mike McDaniel, like, oh, it's just a concussion. It's like, we have to drop the just a concussion.
Yeah.
Like, I saw the movie Concussion, and, open your eyes to it. And you continue to hear these stories of former players that do crazy stuff. And then it links back to CTE, and it makes you take a step back and you're like, all right, this is a serious thing. We have to when these guys do get concussions, we have to be over the top protective. And we started to be, it seemed like we were heading that direction. And then it sort of pulled back a little bit the last couple of years. Is that fair? I think we were kind of more concerned with COVID the last couple of years, and other things were just taking the attention. And to me, it kind of slipped through the cracks, where the concussions wasn't very much talked about and all that kind of thing. Because think about Hunter Renfrow. He's now been out a couple weeks after his concussion. So the Raiders seem to be handling that, with a lot of care. But of course, Tua got thrown back out there. He's the quarterback. The Dolphins are tasting the playoffs. They can, their mouths are watering for it, and they don't want their quarterback out. And so he played, and he doesn't want to be out. He wants to fight through it.
I know. Some of this is speculation, but I struggle to believe that the NFL really cares at the end of the day.
No.
They care about the narrative. So definitely now, hey, we got to do changes. Obviously, the NFLPA probably cares more because they're representing the players. But maybe this is too pessimistic, too negative, too cynical. But the pockets of people high up in the NFL, of the owners, drives everything. This is entertainment. Yes, people play for the love of the game, but overall, this is entertainment. We're entertaining fans. We're making money. And you need the best players out there. And if you're a really good player, how can we get you out as quick as possible? And if you're a lower tier player, we don't really care about giving you the care you need because we're focused on the big time players. And there are stories. There was a Lions lineman who wrote an article within the past few days of talking about, yeah, it can be hit or miss on the care and the sports medicine and the training that players get or should get. It can be really inconsistent, really hit or miss. And, you know, I'm hoping this is for real, especially with head injuries, because, I mean, yikes, there's no way you can treat it like just a concussion. Like it's a serious thing. There was a guy on Dallas radio within the past week talking about, he was saying concussions aren't injuries. Like he was kind of downplaying. I'm like, are you
Oh,
kidding me? The,
that you're
the
injuring your
head
brain.
injuries are
What
so
are we talking about
serious.
here? Gosh, it's unbelievable.
I know. So
And
I just long I think that the drawback from CTE stuff, from concussion, I think that makes sense. People weren't talking about it. Okay, yeah, we did enough. There was other things on the focus. Now this is the focus. It'll ramp up again, and then I don't know.
yeah,
It's
no, I
yeah.
think so. The way that I kind of want to frame this today as we look at our own lives and parallel this to our own lives is just the reality that players want to play because they're competitive. They have a persevering mentality, and coaches need them on the field. Fans want them back on the field, and so they have this tough decision to either be tough or cautious, risk further injury and play through pain, or take the necessary time off to heal and really heal. And sometimes players they'll hide injuries too so that they don't miss any time.
Yep.
And the reality is when somebody like Tua experiences trauma, head trauma, been knocked around, he's not at full capacity. And so it's even funny that we want these guys out there when they're not at full capacity, they're not at their best. But to your point, we want the big name guys out there, and we feel like, well, he's the leader, so he's got to play. And so then they play through pain, they put themselves out there, and they risk further injury.
Yeah. There's pressure to keep playing, and also the idea that we should listen to someone say, "Oh no, I'm fine. I can keep going." With a head
That's right.
injury potentially is like, well, obviously we shouldn't listen to them at all because they just experienced head trauma.
Yeah.
So you can't go off the player's word. Obviously they want to play either pressure to support the team, internal pressure, I want to be great, external pressure. Even if it's genuine, I would just want to keep playing because it's fun. There's so many factors, but yeah, there's probably so many cases at the youth level and the professional level of players, yeah, getting back out there far too soon because they said they can keep going.
That's right. And it's just not always the wisest decision. And so it's sort of the emotional decision. You get back out there. And so, for Tua going back to last Sunday, he goes back in that game and then he plays on Thursday, and he didn't go through the proper healing process. And what's going to happen? He's going to end up missing more time. He's going to be out for an extended time. He's already out, now this week, and Teddy Bridgewater will get the start. But now that we look at this from our own lives, the same thing happens. There is value in all of us. We all have to persevere and endure during tough times, during pain. We have to persevere. We keep going. We get back out there. But at the same time, there are moments and seasons that we have to discern and be wise enough to say, nope, I'm out. I've got to pull back. I've got to step away from the game, so to speak. I need to take some time off, and I need to properly heal. And what ends up happening to a lot of us is we keep pushing through. We keep going. We say, "All right, I'm fine. I'm fine." Like something major happens in our life. Trauma happens in our life. And we just put our head down and say, "No, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep going." But what ends up happening, unfortunately, is we don't go through the proper healing. We end up hurting ourselves or others by not going through that proper healing, by not getting the care that we need. But and the key for us, to your point, Luke, we have to have people around us that can tell us, "Hey, Bryce, you need a break. Hey, Bryce, you need a timeout. Hey, you need to make sure that you address that issue in your life and get some healing and get the care that you need." And so we have to have those, because what do we say? "Oh, I'm fine. I can keep going. I'm going to push the limits." And we've got a lot of people walking around burned out, not healed, dealing with the effects of trauma and trying to get through life, but things are getting worse and things are compiling and we're not pulling back like we need to. And so I see the parallel here. And we want to be tough and we want to be like the football players and oh man, I'll play through it. Um and it's just to me not always the wise decision. Sure, there are sometimes we get back out there, we keep going. Absolutely. I know that game. I know the tough days that I've pushed through. But this summer, I had a mentor tell me, hey Bryce, you need to take a break. You need to take a break. And I had to listen to him. And so I took some time off. We took a break from the show and it was the best thing for me. And I've come back with so much more energy and passion, and God's just renewed so much in me. And so it can be frustrating to pull back, to say no to things. So for some of us, it's getting burned out at work or church or home or whatever it may be. And then some of us have been through, major trauma, death in family and divorce and stuff with kids and all those kinds of things. We have to heal from it. And so whether that's, it's always time with the Lord, it's always, prayer and spending quality time with the Lord and not going, but it's actually pulling back and getting extended time with him. But it's also, counseling, it's mentors, it's friends that are gonna, speak truth in our lives and those kinds of things to say, hey, stop playing through the injury. Just you got to heal. You got to go through the healing process. And so we don't isolate ourselves. It's not so much I'm not saying that where we pull ourselves back and we stay away from the world, but it is getting out of the hustle and bustle. And what I realized too is what we all went through with the Rona. And I read this book called Resilient by John Eldridge that really spoke to this. But this was a worldwide trauma that everybody experienced. And so we all dealt with a lot from that. And many people haven't healed from the effects of all that took place. The isolation, the so much change that took place, so many things that we missed out on, the pain of things that we missed out on, all of that. So we have to go through that healing. And so we seek the Lord, we patiently wait for His healing. This isn't something we can manufacture. It's the Holy Spirit working in us. It's us resting in who God is, and allowing Him to move in us. But we have to pull back and get out of the game in order for a lot of this to happen. And so we have to reach out for help from people that are equipped to help us. And so a couple verses to encourage us, to really allow God to heal our minds, bodies, hearts, to help us be more healthy and effective to go out and do the work that He's called us to do. That's what we want. We want to be at our best. And how many of us are just we're running on empty. We're trying to even do things for the Lord, yet we're not up to speed. It may not be a concussion, but we're just we're banged up, and we need God's restoration in our lives, the refreshment that He provides. Too often we start running, trying to do things in our own strength too. We need to get kind of realigned with Him as well. But Psalm 147:3, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, healing their pain and comforting their sorrow. Isaiah 40:29, He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Proverbs 3:7 and 8, do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. Proverbs 12:25, anxiety in a man's heart weighs it down, but a good, encouraging word makes it glad. And so we need to, get that encouragement from other people and surround ourselves with those kind of people that are going to help us through, the pain that we've got, the anxiety that we got, the worry that we're carrying. We got to pull back and heal and pursue restoration and release the pain as we give our heart, soul, mind, body to the Lord. And so it's through His strength, His grace, His love and power we'll actually be stronger than before, and we'll be able to get back out there on the field, so to speak, and be healed up. And He binds our wounds, and we come back with a different perspective, and we're no longer, oh man, I'm just banged up all the time. I'm just trying to survive. No, we pull back as we can, trust the Lord to heal us, and then at the right time, we get back out there and we take on more responsibility at that point. Maybe we serve more at church because we're in, a healthier place. And so these are the types of, prayerful considerations that I encourage us to have. Um, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to, not everything's going to be totally lined up. And so don't hear that either. Sometimes when we are dealing with kind of stuff in our own life, the best thing we can do is go serve because it lifts our spirits. So there's something to be said about that. And so we have to seek God's direction on that to know what the best option is. What I'm saying today is sometimes that best option is pulling back, getting out of the game, whatever that looks like for each of our lives. For me, it meant a few weeks this summer to pull back. And now I'm God's working and excited about where Unpacking it's at and where things are heading in a lot of different areas of my life. So that's my experience, and I'm encouraged by God's word today as well. So want to see Tua back out there as well. Want to see him healthy from a physical standpoint, and he's going to need the proper healing. So he's going to be out for a while to get healed at this point. So there you go, Luke. Hopefully that's encouraging to us today.
Yeah, really encouraging. Probably a very timely reminder for a lot of our listeners. And I think the key distinction, as I was listening to you share and explain, is the difference between long suffering and persevering as a follower of Jesus and taking a break. Like, as Christians in a world that hates Christ, we are called to persevere, to endure, to keep going, to long suffer for the sake of Christ. But the idea we're talking about today is stop doing it in your own strength, essentially. Like, take a break from operating in your own strength. Maybe that's going to counseling. I've done counseling, especially after losing my dad, went to grief counseling growing up. I needed that. My own strength was not going to help me, and that was an outlet that God led my family to. Maybe it is you taking a break this summer. I need a break to rest and recollect and to re-energize. So maybe it's it could be a bunch of things, but I think the core is taking a break from operating in your own strength. You don't need to keep playing in your own strength. Like, Tua needs to go, he needs to rest. He needs to go get help. Not, I'm going to continue to muscle up my own strength and go play. No, you need to get healthy, Tua. You need to get healthy with a head injury. And for us, we've got to stop trying to continue to go ahead in our own strength, but actually submit to the power of the Spirit, submit to God, view God as a refuge, as a resting place. We continue to long suffer, continue to endure as a follower of Jesus, but not in our own strength. And getting out of our own strength again is maybe going to counseling, maybe taking a break. Again, it could be a lot of things, but I think that's kind of how I was hearing what you're talking about. Is certainly it's, like you said, not pull back from culture, the world, isolate. No, actually go surround yourself with good people, launch into helpful things, but defer to the strength of God and God's word and people around you, instead of just limping along in your own strength, which will fail you and eventually is going to lead to greater hurt, greater injury, greater suffering. I know I've experienced that in my life. I mean, my own strength fails me over and over again. And it's when God reminds me, hey, rest in me. Hey, you need God's people around you. Hey, you need to be in my word. Hey, maybe you need professional help. And that's been huge for me.
Yeah. And I think, two other things. We don't need to hide our pain. And so at the flip side, we need to admit our pain, not to act like, I'm good. Dude, you just went through a major crisis in your life, or you just went through this really tough season of life. Have you paused to reflect and heal as necessary? Have you, really sought the Lord to ask him, what he was doing through that, or what what the takeaway is, and have some of those conversations? Or you just boom on to the next thing? No big deal. I'm just going to keep moving forward. And I think that's the pattern for a lot of us. And I'm suggesting today that there's a better way. And of course it's through Christ and through pulling away and even looking to his example too, because he pulled away at times too. So it's a little different. But I think we saw, Jesus model the willingness to pull away, be with God the Father, in the midst of his, the height of his ministry on earth. So that's a little bit different of a topic, but still looking to him as our ultimate example. So any last words, and we'll shift gears here.
Yeah, I just love the reminder. Admit that you need help. Admit that you need healing.
Yeah.
All of us should, as a Christians, living a life as a follower of Jesus is continual repentance, continually admitting our need, continually downplaying our own strength, our own self-righteousness, working against that, continually looking to Christ. So yeah, admitting that in general we need help every day, but also if you really need help, hopefully have people around you. Surround yourself with people that will be able to see that, but also admit it. Because if you, I'm sure people use that information against you, but in my experience, admitting I need help, admitting, hey, I'm really struggling in this area, I've been met with such grace from God's people around me. And it's very freeing to finally admit, you know what, I really just need help in this area. That's like a burden off your shoulders to, okay, I don't have to carry this by myself anymore. I don't have to feel like I just got to keep playing. No, I've admitted, you know what, I just can't do it anymore. And that actually is an incredible feeling. Not that you should chase feelings, but I think it's evidence that it's a good thing.
People rally around you. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, hopefully, I know it's kind of a heavy topic, but I hope that people are encouraged by that today.